All right, let's talk about another really rough performance by Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Lawrence ends the day under 5 yards per attempt, threw one touchdown and one interception. Not very good numbers on the day. Not very good numbers on the season. A passer rating of 75 for the season, just 2 touchdowns on the year. What the hell is going wrong in Jacksonville? But let's get into it. It obviously isn't all Lawrence's fault. That goes without saying, but that is definitely a part of it. I want to start off with this play because, we always talk about, I think, football as either the quarterback played well or the quarterback played poorly. And there's obviously so much more to football than just that. I want to give credit to the defense first and foremost because the Bills' defense has been really good this season, and we're going to see it again here. You see the concept on your screen. Okay, sure. Could get into a little gap in coverage underneath the corner, but past the linebacker. Well, we've seen that before. Lawrence is going to take the snap. He's going to eventually look in that direction. Decides to fire it in this tight window, but this isn't a tight window. This is literally a mailbox throw. I literally think you would have to fit it through a mailbox to make it in a spot where you can make this catch. And in fact, I don't think there was even a window. That just got closed up right there. So you're throwing 2 non-existent windows at this point. Obviously, it's not a throw you should make if it's that dangerous. But the issue is there was a lot of throws that Lawrence shouldn't make in this game, right? So absolutely, I think first and foremost, the main thing you notice when watching this is just how dominant this Bills defense looks. And maybe the Jaguars need to help, get more guys open consistently. Although going over to this play, the interception was just a bad play. We can sit here and make some excuses. I always hate the term making excuses. People love to say, oh, you're just making excuses for a player. Listen, I'm just saying what I think happens. There's always going to be added context, and it's rare that a bad box score is just on the quarterback, but that doesn't mean none of the plays were just on the quarterback. This one was. It's a zone coverage play. You have a receiver running a route over the middle. Lawrence is going to take the snap, and you see, Brian Thomas Jr., that's the receiver, he just gets open right here. This is wide open. So, I can sit here and talk about how many plays were like that last one. That wasn't the case all the time. There were plenty of plays like this, but for Lawrence, this throw just gets away from him. It's too high and ends up getting picked off. And listen, it's 20-3 at that point. I'm not sure if that was the huge play in the game, but maybe you would have had a chance if you could, at least get a score at the end of the half. Only being down 2 scores at halftime feels better than being down what they ended up being down, which was the Bills actually scored 2 more touchdowns after this moment. So the actual score was 34-3 at half. Bit of a difference there. There was some nice plays in this game by the Jaguars offense. It wasn't all bad. There were things like this where it's going to be Christian Kirk running a route designed to get into a gap in coverage. Christian Kirk, remember him? I feel like he's had a very quiet season, but he had a good game today. Watch as when this play begins. He runs this route well, is able to get past the Bills player covering over the middle of the field. There is a window here. It's open. This is so far so good. Lawrence makes the throw. I will say for the most part, when plays are working, Lawrence isn't a bumbling idiot out there who's just throwing it to the wrong team constantly. He had the one bad throw, but to me, the biggest issue is just that, when things aren't going well, there isn't really a way that he can make something else happen. And I don't know if that's fair to blame him or not. He gets paid like a top-tier quarterback, but, clearly he isn't that. I guess the question I have is, what do you do with Lawrence? Is he fixable? Because they're stuck with him. They gave him the big contract. So can you fix him and get him back to being a good quarterback? Again, going over to a play like this, when I watch him play, I do see these plays as well. Yes, there are the bad plays, but there's also stuff like this, where it's a 3rd down and goal, it's zone coverage. You have 2 receivers who are just going to run kind of clear out routes. You're trying to get the, just close to the sideline towards the top of the screen open. You then have another player who's going to kind of start off as though he's just running a quick underneath route, but then he's going to be the one who goes further deep. That's the way this play is designed to work. It's Christian Kirk here. Lawrence takes a snap, and there's going to be some pretty quick pressure, which is something that's just been an issue for Jacksonville. They don't have a great offensive line. It kind of is what it is. But still, Lawrence is going to throw one up, and is there a window? Maybe. If you can get it up, perhaps Christian Kirk can try and make a play. Again, it's not wide open. A lot of the windows Lawrence is throwing to are tight windows. But as you see, this one, incomplete. I think a pretty good play by Lawrence. I really do. I think this is one of those, the situation is tough. It's fair to say that there are plays where the situation isn't tough and Lawrence still isn't executing properly. So, definitely he is a part of the problem. At the very least, he hasn't been the solution so far, but he is not the entirety of the problem. I think that's also fair to say. And sometimes it's been stuff like this, and maybe this is the best example that we can go with, where it's going to be a 4th down and 10, the game is over. I mean, they need 4 touchdowns in 10 minutes. It's not happening, right? But you're still, I mean, at this point, you're probably just playing maybe a little bit for pride, but maybe just for practice. It's week 3. Let's get another, drive of game reps in. If we can get a touchdown here, we'll just, maybe we can learn something about our team, get a little bit more cohesion. Sure. So on a 4th down and 10, cover 2-man, where is Lawrence going to look towards? Well, that's the route Brian Thomas Jr. is running. It's a good route against this coverage for sure. Can get past the 1st down marker, but isn't too deep that the one of the 2 deep safeties can come in and make a play. It makes sense. Lawrence is going to take the snap. He eventually looks in the direction of Thomas Jr. Is again hit as he's thrown, as what tends to happen a lot. This throw is a bit off, and also it was a catchable ball. Kind of both things are true. It feels like Brian Thomas Jr., had he cut a little bit quicker, could have maybe easily caught that, but also still maybe had a chance on it, but ends up going off his hands and dropped. Still, I think you would like that to be pushed a little bit further down the field if you're Lawrence, but at the same time, this is a good example of it's just not working. Sure, there were plays where no matter what he did, it wasn't going to work. This is a play where things could have worked, but it's also this still isn't an easy play. I think that's kind of how I view the Jaguars right now. So for Trevor Lawrence, it's why I get conflicted a little bit, right? Because, again, it's obviously he hasn't played as well as people thought he would be when he was drafted 1st overall. And to be honest, I think you've had a bigger sample size of his career not being great than even the good sample size. He was very good, I thought, to start the year last year. First half of last season was very good. And, I believe the excuses, I guess, of the injuries. I think you could even make an argument there was a similar vibe, and there still is a similar vibe, to Cleveland Baker Mayfield, of every single thing for Baker Mayfield when things went wrong, you could easily explain it. But the issue was there were so many questions okay, why have you had this much of a sample size of things going wrong? Now we've seen those excuses were actually valid, and he has turned into a good player for Tampa Bay. Although still not an elite player, probably not worth the 1st overall pick, right? For Trevor Lawrence, I think it's been kind of similar so far. Every time he's had a bad season, you can look at the situation and say, well, what is he supposed to do? He did have a good year and then got injured and played poorly when he was injured, right? There are those excuses. At the same time, though, it's the similar thing you have to think about with Mayfield, and why some of those guys don't work out is, well, what if you're just not that good? And what if you just are an inconsistent player who has had some stretches? There's always going to be something going wrong outside of the quarterback play. So, there's always an excuse you can make. Trying to figure out what is an excuse and what is a reality is difficult. So for me, I mean, you're stuck with Lawrence either way, whether you want to be with him or not. So I think try to figure out a way to make the situation better, because, I always feel like you want to at least know, and having a good situation helps you know. But yeah, more issues than Lawrence, but Lawrence also has to start playing better. That's what I think. Before I go, I will mention I do have a movie channel. If you like watching movies, check that out. The link is in the description below. It is Jackson Kruger Movies. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Lawrence. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.